Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the channel. I wanted to make a quick video and talk about some of the some of the things you don't automatically think about when you're putting on tube doors, and what you really should kind of like prepare for. Every time I saw a Jeep with the doors off, I was like, God, I need to buy myself a Jeep. And that was really my big driver. I was gonna do this, and I've been true to it. The doors have been off for like 2.5 months now or so, and I've been loving them. But there's a couple of things you should know. Okay, so there's the obvious, right? If it's gonna be cold or rainy, maybe consider not taking the Jeep, and then plan your trip a little bit around that. Like if you're going to be out all day, you may not know what the weather is going to be like later in the evening. Take some extra clothes or something like that, especially if you got kids and you got to put them in the back and they're going to be cold. One of the things that's happened is my boy's hat flew off. I'm not even sure how that happened because he's sitting in there, not like out here, but yeah, flew off right on the freeway. So you got to be kind of careful not to have any loose items around. And that's actually it's a big change, because you're used to just getting on your car and putting everything you want right on the passenger seat. You can't be doing that. So that's something you got to think about. So maybe have a little container or a backpack that's heavy that you're going to put your stuff into, and just put those in the back seat or something like that, like on the back seat floor, because it's not gonna. It's a little bit of a, you got to prepare for it. You can't just jump in the car, throw your stuff around, and then you may have trash or whatever in your car that even though I'm pretty neat usually, there's the occasional like fast food straw or something like that, or I don't know, whatever, can or bottle of water or whatever. You just can't do that kind of stuff. You gotta wrap everything up, and the car has to be relatively free of stuff, essentially. And if you have a blanket or whatever, you got to carry that for your kids. Just make sure it's kind of like weighed down or fastened down somehow. That isn't right now, but we're not moving. So the other thing that I hadn't thought about is, and I'm actually pleasantly surprised, with the doors gone, you're losing a couple of speakers, a few of them, right? But man, this system on the JT and the JL, you got these two really big speakers here, and then you also have these speakers here. If you've got the upgraded stereo system or package or whatever, which I highly recommend, by the way. Without having that and the doors gone, I imagine you'd have a pretty piss poor sound out of your stereo as you're driving around. And I've been my favorite song to listen to these days, when with the roof off and the doors off, is that old 90s song by Collective Soul, Let the Sun Shine Down. And it's awesome. It's glorious. I put it on and I drive out the driveway and the sun's coming down. I love it. But if I can't crank up the stereo, it's kind of like worthless. So I love being able to crank it out as I'm going. But as I slow down, out of respect to everybody around me, I do turn it down a little bit. But yeah, it's super cool to be able to do that. The other thing you want to worry about, which I'm super thankful for, is the fact that Jeep obviously had the forethought to put locks on everything on the truck. So everything, glove box, the armrest, the seat bottom, the seat top, all of this stuff, the container underneath the seat, everything has its own little lock, which is really, really great, because these doors do not lock, right? There's no locking mechanism. Anybody can just walk up and do like this, and they can actually just yank the door and take it with them. Wish I hadn't told everybody that, but I'm assuming the people who have hung around this long are Jeep people who wouldn't do that. So I think we're safe. But you got to be real careful when you leave your car anywhere for a long period of time, because you may have your garage door opener, your dash cam, your little Buddha statue, okay? All of that stuff that's lying around, people can totally jack that stuff and take it with them. They probably won't, but depending on where you are. Now, I had to leave this car overnight at a gas station a well, it was about a week ago because I had a flat tire, and I didn't have my spare with me. And what happened was the valve stem was loose. So when I went to put air in, the valve stem actually fell into the wheel, and then I had a fully flat tire. It was the craziest night. So I had this fully flat tire, no correct size spare, which I'm in the process of getting now, because my spare is still the 33-inch tire under the truck, and these are 35s. Longer story I want to get into. Anyway, I had to leave it overnight, and I forgot to take my garage door opener out. So that's the kind of thing you got to like have some forethought and really think about. Am I leaving stuff in the car or in the truck that I really want to take with me? And then obviously there's the whole, like, if you're leaving it out in the sun for several days or whatever in your driveway with the top off, eventually the leather is going to pay the price, right? So not a huge concern for me. I keep it in the garage every night, and realistically, I'm only going to have this truck for 36 months, which is the term of my lease. So I'm probably not going to wear out the seats in that time, and then it will be somebody else's problem. But again, I would, I'd like to take care of it still. So those are some of the things that you may or may not be thinking about that you should think about. Definitely, take some blankets with you if you got passengers, because it does get pretty cold in the evenings. You're driving back, you might want to stay someplace longer, and that can kind of give you some grief. Other than that, man, I gotta say, this is an exhilarating experience. Now, I ride bikes, right? So you would think that's the freeing experience that I would be after. To me, this is actually a more genuine experience, especially here in Southern California, because you have to wear a helmet when you're on a bike. And I love helmets. I wear them all the time. I would never ride without a helmet regardless, right? But when you got your helmet on, the wind isn't exactly blowing through your hair. But in that Jeep, the wind is blowing through your hair, your face, your everything, right? It's just a glorious experience, and I absolutely love it. In fact, I'm driving around every day, and I see tons of Jeeps on the road in beautiful weather with their doors and their roof and everything on still. And hey, I'm judging you, man. What are you doing? What are you doing? You gotta rip these suckers off, right? And you gotta use to me, these things cost more because of this feature, right? I mean, the fact that you can take the doors off, what other vehicle can you do that in? I don't know of a single one. I actually just saw a taco the other day on YouTube where had trick doors like this, but I imagine that was a huge ordeal for them to do, whereas this took me about, a minute and a half or whatever it took. 20 minutes. And then, the roof pops right out. Pretty great. I don't intend to ever really remove the back. Again, I got this kid sitting in the back there and a baby, and, the sun in her eyes and stuff like that isn't exactly what I'm going after. But it's a pretty cool look like this. It's a cooler look I give you with the back top removed, but I don't see myself doing that anytime soon. Plus, the other problem with here's the last point I'm going to make for you is, keep in mind when you're doing this, you got to store all this stuff someplace, and that's not the OEM doors, right? You got to store them someplace, and the roof. And you want to store them in some place where they're not going to get scratched or weathered or damaged in any way. So that's something you want to think about ahead of time. Now, I've got this really big, comically large cardboard box that's like super tough that I put everything in, and then I cover it with a tarp, and I actually put it on the side of the house. I store it outside because I like having a lot of room in the garage. But if I guess you could store it in your garage, and I've seen lots of products where they sell like hangers where you can hang it on your wall or whatever you got to do. I've got this plan for building this really cool box to put them in, and if I do that, I will definitely make a video of it and post it here and share the plans with you guys. But that's probably my next project in the wood shop over here. What else? Yeah, that's about all the surprises, I guess. No, I wouldn't really call them surprises. I guess any idiot would have thought of most of those things, but it just takes some planning. You to increase your enjoyment of the Jeep. But overall, guys, I would say if your doors are still in your Jeep and the weather is nice, especially if you're in a place like Southern California, you are not doing yourself any favors. Rip them off. Get rid of them. Even if you don't even have tube doors, just get rid of them. You can drive around with no doors at all. I've done that before. It's even kind of more fun. I got those little foot pegs you can put in the hinge there and ride around that way. Anywho, if you have any questions, comments, anything you think I missed, any pointers you want to give people, put them in the comments, and click like and subscribe and all that jazz. And I'll leave a link to these EAG doors in the comments. I did a separate review of these in a different video that I'll link also in the comments. They're pretty solid doors, and hopefully you like this video, and leave me some comments. Let me know. Cheers.